Everyone, good afternoon. I hope you can all hear me clearly. I am Sharene Labung, an affiliate of the Asia Pacific Association Educators Training Institute. I am a college professor from La Verdad Christian College in Pampanga. Right now, you are supposed to see our topic. I would also apologize if the line would somehow little break up in a bit. We all know that experience when we conduct any kinds of webinar or online meetings, particularly with the use of internet. Thank you all for participating in today's webinar. This time our topic is understanding the pedagogic capabilities of educational technology with remote learning session through Edmodo. So as schools around the world respond to COVID-19, the need for remote learning tools has never been more urgent. So to make the transition to distance learning easier, we have different resources, trainings, webinars like this, and how-to guides that we hope will help our schools, we as educators, our students, and their families as they navigate their new normal. So after this webinar topic, participants are expected to learn what is remote learning. At least you've learned somehow what is remote learning, understand the pedagogic capabilities of educational technology, understand the difference between synchronous and asynchronous learning. We'll also try to work on exploring ways to incorporate social and emotional components into remote learning experience. You'll also learn the use and features of Edmodo platform and demonstrate understanding and application of pedagogical concepts. So before we start exploring different platforms to be integrated in our educational practices, it is useful to have an understanding of Bloom's taxonomy and a SAMR model for technology integration. So SAMR is an acronym that stands for substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. So for us instructors, we integrate technology tools into instruction. So this model can be used to determine whether the technology application is enhancing or transforming the learning. Okay, I will show you and let's review some of the resources we can use in our teaching strategy.
Every day, teachers are designing activities to target higher order thinking skills in order to engage students in rich learning experiences. But integrating technology adds a whole new layer to teaching and learning. How can technology transform your learning design? Dr. Ruben Puentedura developed the SAMR model as a way for teachers to evaluate how they are incorporating technology into their instructional practice. You can use SAMR to reflect upon how you are integrating technology into your classroom. Is it an act of substitution, augmentation, modification, or redefinition? Dr. Puentedura likens his model to moving up a ladder. The model includes a dotted line that represents the threshold where you shift from using technology to enhance learning to using it to transform learning. Transforming learning promotes higher order thinking skills, such as analyzing, evaluating, and creating, which are essential to Common Core state standards and 21st century learning. So, how can you teach above the line? Let's take a look at an example of a classroom task and how it evolves through the lens of SAMR. In substitution, technology acts as a direct tool substitute with no real functional change to the task. For example, take creative writing. What if you had students write a story using a word processing program? In this case, students are substituting a handwritten story for a typed story. The task is the same with no real change in student engagement. In augmentation, technology still substitutes, but with some functional improvement. What if you took the same creative writing assignment and had students use a word processing program? They could use features such as spell check and tools for formatting. Again, the story writing task is the same, but the technology augments it with enhanced productivity. In modification, technology should allow for significant task redesign. Take the same creative writing assignment and have students use Google Docs to write their stories. Students can then share these stories with peers and provide real-time feedback. Here, technology has significantly modified the original task by introducing the benefits of student collaboration. At the top stage, redefinition, technology allows for the creation of entirely new tasks that were previously inconceivable. What if students transform their written stories into multimedia productions? After creating storyboards, students film scenes, edit clips, and add music. They can publish the videos and receive feedback from voices across the globe. In this case, technology redefines the story writing task to include media creation, critical thinking, collaboration, and communication. So, how can you use SAMR to reflect upon transforming your learning design? Puentedora offers reflection questions to help you move up the SAMR ladder and shift how you are designing learning experiences. For instance, ask yourself, what will I gain by replacing the older technology with the new technology? Have I added an improvement to the task process that could not be accomplished with the older technology at a fundamental level? Does this modification fundamentally depend upon the new technology? How is the new task uniquely made possible by the new technology? These are just a few of the questions you can ask yourself as you evaluate the design of a classroom task, and consider that not all technology integration is created equal. Ultimately, SAMR can help you evaluate your use of technology and design tasks that target higher-order thinking skills, engage students in rich learning experiences, and impact student achievement.
Okay, so this has 4 levels that explain the increasing impact of the integration from substituting another traditional learning method, such as writing with pen and paper. So to creating a completely new learning style, such as students complete and present a team project using global video conferencing and a virtual classroom. So if you can do this activity, you may share additional resources and stories from your classroom relative to technology integration. So for you, which level of the SAMR model you feel most familiar with for technology integration? Okay, let's review more and learn more. This time, it's about Bloom's taxonomy. Almost all educators are familiar with what is Bloom's taxonomy. It is a model for us to be able to classify different levels of human cognition and thinking, learning and understanding. So we as educators, we have our learning objectives for our students. We can use this model as a tool to be vehicles in transforming student thinking at different levels. Paano natin ito magagamit, yung Bloom's taxonomy this time of digital technology? Paano siya makaka-influence in our instructional designs? So from a simple Bloom's taxonomy to Bloom's digital taxonomy, para lalong ma-expand ang skills ng estudyante nung each level in Bloom's taxonomy. So let's watch this short video.
Most educators are familiar with Bloom's taxonomy, a model that classifies different levels of human cognition in thinking, learning, and understanding. As a teacher, you've likely used this taxonomy to guide the development of curriculum, assessments, and instructional strategies. But how is this model affected in an age of digital technology, and how might it influence your instructional design? Let's take a step back. Bloom's taxonomy was created in the 1950s by educational psychologist Benjamin Bloom and his colleagues. The 3 lower levels, knowledge, comprehension, and application, are more basic levels of cognition, also called lower-order thinking skills. This would include concrete thinking, memorization, and understanding. The 3 upper levels, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation, referred to as higher-order thinking skills, include abstract, critical, metacognitive, and creative thinking. Some have likened the model to a mountain or a stairway, where teachers set learning objectives and design learning experiences to guide students to higher levels of thinking. The taxonomy has become an important model for structuring students' learning processes. In the 1990s, Bloom's taxonomy was updated by a group led by David Krathwohl, one of the original authors, and Lauren Anderson, a former student of Bloom's. To make the model relevant to 21st century learning, one of their main changes was updating the nouns associated with each level to action-oriented verbs. This differentiation positions thinking as an action-based process rather than one of passive acquisition. For example, knowledge was replaced with remember, analysis was changed to analyze, and so on. They also reordered the last two steps. Evaluation, which was previously at the top, was moved down, and creating, formerly synthesis, was moved to the top. With this framing, educators have several different verbs, questions, and instructional strategies associated with each level. In recent years, there have been many iterations and metaphors for Bloom's taxonomy, including an orange, where the 6 levels are distributed more equally, moving cogs, representing an interworking system in which creation is dependent upon all of the other aspects, or a flipped pyramid illustrating an emphasis on higher-order thinking skills. But in thinking about how technology affects this model, consider it as Bloom's digital taxonomy. This updated version aims to expand upon the skills associated with each level as technology becomes a more ingrained and essential part of learning. For instance, some propose that new action verbs can be applied within each level. Let's take a look at creating, in which learners are designing, inventing, and constructing a piece of work that shows what they know. One could add new digital verbs to creating, like blog, remix, or program. These verbs refer to possible learning activities that incorporate digital technologies in which students are creating. Adding digital verbs to the taxonomy also promotes 21st century skills like communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking. Others have taken the 6 levels of the taxonomy and aligned them with technology tools that help foster each level. For example, as a teacher, you can think about how to integrate apps and websites that help students remember content, like flashcards or drill and practice tools. There are tools that help students analyze and make sense of content, like reading charts, graphs, or mind maps. Or you can think about what tools support student creation, like producing, podcasting, blogging, coding, editing, and more. With these examples, the focus should not necessarily be on the tools themselves, but on how the tools can be vehicles in transforming student thinking at different levels. So, as you weave technology into your teaching, ask yourself, how can the tools you use support different cognitive levels? Which tools help you address lower-order thinking skills? And which can help challenge students' higher-order thinking skills? Consider how Bloom's digital taxonomy can help you identify ways to design technology-rich learning experiences for your students.
Okay, so can we still use Bloom's taxonomy this time of digital technology? Does it influence our instructional designs? Obviously, yes. So I have here 4 stages of educational technology integration from a student perspective. Technology can be used in the learning process in a variety of ways. So some are supplementary, serving the original design of the classroom, and usually automate human tasks or process grading multiple choice assessments, searching for a source of information, or sharing messages and other data across large groups. But this fully integrated and embedded in the learning process, technology can be transformative and disruptive. So stage 1 of the learning process, learners are directed in their use of technology. So asynchronous access can to information and peer networks, some ability for learner to select platform, technology, or even content. As a result, traditional classroom learning begins to be disrupted. And now in stage 2, This stage is characterized by powerful access to information, to networks, and communities, but it is mostly unable to leverage that access without supporting frameworks or planning. Here, learners are directed in their selection and constructivist use of technology in the learning process. Traditionally, to accomplish purely academic tasks that are fully accessible without the technology. And in stage 3, mobile technology erodes traditional classroom. So truly mobile learners should disrupt non-flexible curriculum. Mobile learning experiences are unpredictable. Why? Because it requires varied communication, critical thinking, and aggressive resourcefulness. Standard-based academic work struggles for gravity working against this stage of technology integration. And in stage 4, this final stage of technology implementation necessitates learners to consistently self-direct critical core components of learning experiences. Self-direction is based on curiosity and play while supported by personalized learning algorithms and the connectivity of authentic networks. It is characterized by, in this final stage of technology integration. So traditional classroom learning is fully disrupted. Next, we need to understand what remote learning is. So as you can see in your screen, remote learning is where the student and the educator or information source are not physically present in a traditional classroom environment. Information is relayed through technology, such as discussion boards, video conferencing, and online assessments. Remote learning, as we all heard about that right after our current situation with COVID-19, we have faced the reality that we have to continue and move on forward. And that's facing the new normal. That includes going to our day-to-day lives at work, facing our computer screen, our mobile devices. We're working at home. Some of you might be attending some official or formal meetings, wearing suit at the top and wearing shorts down below. So that's the new normal we are facing. Remote learning occurs when the learner and instructor or source of information are separated by time and distance. That's exactly what we're having now. Therefore, cannot meet in a traditional classroom setting. But it can be a cost-efficient way to reach many people with resources that would otherwise be unreachable through a flexible, customizable, accessible learning space. So you have probably heard a lot of tools that you can use for the learning process. Okay, next is making the transition to remote learning is a transition to inclusive. Students' online learning get the strategies, resources, technology you need to quickly create an online classroom that supports every student, including Edmodo, Google Classroom. So later I will discuss to you what is Edmodo. How is online delivery different? In an online delivery, learners rely on the facilitator to bridge the physical distance that separates the participants. For example, there are teachers na magaling silang magturo sa classroom, they are really effective, pero pagdating sa online delivery, hindi. Social dynamics are the same, but the implications are different. So social dynamics in a virtual environment today. That is why the implications are so different. For example, in a physical space, we know how to return to our seats as student, not only because the teacher instructed us to return to our seats. We also go back because everyone in the room does. In a virtual environment, it is completely different. We don't have this, we don't have those social cues in the same way. So the teacher or the facilitator has to replace those physical cues with virtual cues. So what are these? You have to make sure as an instructor, as a teacher, that you're still in control. Even if your students are on the other side of the screen, even if they seated, even if they're lying down, even if some of them might be watching TV or some of them might be scrolling on their mobile devices, watching TikTok videos or Facebook, Instagram, other social media. So we have to also make sure that we as teacher, we as their instructors, we have to include interactive, engaging applications that our students would somehow draw in the learner in a new way. Okay, provide continuity for students with remote learning tools and technology that support online teaching for higher education. So we need to keep our students collaborating and engage with all the tools and resources you need for a successful and smooth transition to online learning. Supporting students with social and emotional learning. As schools, educators, students transition to remote learning, what do we need? Right tools, right training, right resources can help us continue to support the well-being of our students even while they're not within the classroom. Emotional distance have a big impact on your students. So try to discover strategies we can use to bridge that distance and promote the well-being of your school community. Let's get ideas on how to support the well-being of our students. We can use interactive tools to keep our students communicating and emotionally connected. Build confidence in remote teaching and learning. With the right tools and resources, every educator and student can be an expert in remote learning. So keep students engaged, get practical guidance on using technology to keep students engaged while learning remotely. How can we keep our students engaged? So that's the question. We need to keep students engaged, but how? So we need to ensure students are deeply engaged and energized while learning remotely with free and simple tools that support a positive immersive learning experience. Okay, now what's the difference between synchronous learning and asynchronous learning? While online education continue to grow in popularity and accessibility, it can still be grouped broadly into these two categories. We have this synchronous learning and the asynchronous. So synchronous learning is the kind of learning that happens in real time. This means that you and your students interact in a specific virtual place through a specific online medium at a specific time. In other words, it's not exactly anywhere, anyhow, anytime. Methods of synchronous online learning include video conferencing. What else? Teleconferencing, live chatting, live streaming lectures. What applications like Google Meet, Zoom? So that is synchronous learning. How about asynchronous learning? Okay, Asynchronous learning happens on your schedule. While the course of study, you as their teacher, as their instructor, will provide materials for reading, lectures for viewing, assignments for completing, and exams for evaluation. You have the ability to access and satisfy these requirements within a flexible time frame. So methods of asynchronous online learning include self-guided lesson modules, streaming video content, virtual libraries. You can post your lecture notes, exchange across discussion boards or social media platforms. Okay, that is asynchronous learning. Okay, these are some considerations as an educator. We need to consider the technology. Number 2, students' emotional needs. Number 3, the bandwidth. Number 4, other demands on students. Okay, how about what is technology? Why do we need to consider this as an educator? Okay, technology. Do they have personal computer like desktop, laptop, tablet, smartphones for the online class? Or in some cases, they don't have anything. So we need to consider that. For example, they do have an internet connection, but the question is, do they have devices to open or access that? What you have posted? Yes or no? Second one, you also need to consider students' emotional needs. We need to understand somehow, maybe our students are undergoing some problems. That is why parental involvement is crucial. Baka akala ng magulang dahil nasa bahay yung anak niya, okay lang palagi. On our part, how can we reach out of them? Third one, the bandwidth. The bandwidth has great impact to us teachers and to our students. Meron ba silang internet connection? Do they have a stable internet connection? Ano ba ang internet service provider nila? Right? So other demands on students. Fourth, for example, they are struggling in learning. They have difficulties in using a digital tool, technical difficulties. Nakakasabay pa ba si student? So switching to remote teaching and learning is a dramatic change from a business as usual for institutions that have provided a consistent experience for generations. As the pandemic forces students to stay home, educators are doing their best to quickly transition to remote learning. We are doing our best. However, recent events have shown us that schools must also now plan for instruction to continue when students, their staffs are unable to meet in person. The question is, what would be the appropriate tool for our student? Okay, that said, we recommend schools consider the 3 C's when examining remote learning: the content, communication, and control. Content. Many vendors offer the traditional print content in electronic format. And there are several resources for standard-based content for free of charge or at affordable prices. And if you are familiar with Khan Academy, has been a leader in supplemental resources for years. The vendors such as Scholastic have opened up their vast resources for teachers and families to access during this current crisis. Additionally, several states offer resources from their departments of education. Okay, the second C, communication. There are more options available for schools to communicate between staff and students than ever before. So just like in the classroom, a teacher needs to decide when to deliver instruction to the whole class. For small groups and individualized, the same thing happened remotely. An easy to access tool is Edmodo. Other tools such as Slack offer communication across multiple platforms in asynchronous time, and video conferencing tools such as Zoom allow teachers to create whole, small, and individual groups, recorded and even live. Events can be saved on a school's YouTube channel, and students can access it live or come back to it later when they need a refresher. Third, control. Most teachers are not trained in transferring these same skills from the in-person classroom to the online classroom. Experience and the right tools make a tremendous difference. Online learning is much more than just accessing the content. Deeper checking for understanding online can be much more difficult for teachers remotely than it can be in person. So, harnessing the power of technology is an ongoing challenge in the best of times. In times of uncertainty, it's even more important to take the time to understand the problem and be deliberate about an appropriate plan. So, the plan can always change based on what? Based on updated data. But it's important to understand that the transition to remote learning is not as simple as providing access to a device or a website. Lalo na sa part ng mga sinasabi nga nila mga hindi daw techie. Sabi nila mga Jurassic na daw. So now, I will introduce to you what is Edmodo. Edmodo is a social media platform, often described as a Facebook for schools. It is that and much more. Edmodo attracts teachers and students with a social element that resembles Facebook, but there's even greater value in the educational applications. Edmodo, as designed by educators, enables exceptionally secure cloud-based collaboration. A teacher, school, or district easily can manage a system that provides the best features of the cloud while practically eliminating the anxiety that we associate with students on the internet. What are the top tools and features of Edmodo? Teachers and students can collaborate in a secure, closed environment. A message board allows secure and open communication that can be monitored and controlled by the teacher. It is easy to monitor student interaction. Teachers can post assignments and assessments that are electronically submitted and automatically graded. Follow these simple steps to create a teacher account. Go to Edmodo homepage, click Sign Up, select the Teacher button, and fill out the registration form and select the Create Your Account button to complete the sign up process. Just enter your email address and your password. To create a class or group, select this icon by the My Classes or My Groups headings in the left panel. Select the Create a Group or Create a Class button towards the bottom of your list of groups or classes. Enter the information and click Create.
If your group or class spans multiple grade levels, click Range and then set the range of grade levels. Select the subject area for your class. You can change the color of your class. Then click Create. There are two ways to invite your students to your class. You can enter their names and email address, or when the group is created, the system will generate a group code, and this is what you will issue to your students for enrollment into your class. Once your students join your Edmodo group or class, you can lock the group code so that no other students can join. You can also reset the group code by selecting the drop-down arrow next to the group code and selecting Reset. To post content, like start a discussion, share class materials, you can select this icon, type your post in the post box, and attach files if you want. To change the class color, invite people, advanced settings, click on the class you want to create an assignment on the left panel. Click on ellipsis just beside the plus button. To post a new assignment, select the Add button located in Class Information panel of your class page. You can either load an existing assignment or create a new one. You can also create a quiz or load an existing quiz. Quizzes allow you to create, assign, and grade assessments using your own questions. Select whether you would like students to see their results immediately or not. The quiz title, the name of your quiz by completing the title field at the top. When you are ready to create the questions, select the question type from the drop-down. Here you can choose from true or false, multiple choice, short answer, or fill in the blank. It set a time limit for students to complete the quiz. Description of the quiz by completing the quiz details and instructions. Once the prompt is complete, you can add responses, complete the response option, and mark the correct one by selecting the Set as Correct Answer link. To add a new question, select the Add button on the left panel. You can go back and edit questions by selecting the question number. You can preview the quiz, and if the quiz is ready to be posted, select the Assign Quiz button. To start a discussion, announcements, or even share class materials, all your posts and their responses can be viewed by everyone in the group. Files like notes and presentations, links to websites can be shared with students in a note. Once a quiz has been posted to a group or an assignment, students can select the Take Quiz located next to the due date to take the quiz. After you have posted a quiz, you can see how many students have completed the quiz by looking at the turned in number located on the quiz post. You will also receive an alert in your notification section anytime a student completes a quiz. Select a student's name to review their quiz. If the question format was multiple choice, true or false, or fill in the blank, the questions will already be marked correct or incorrect based on which response you specified when creating the quiz. To edit your profile and account settings, click on Profile at the top right of your Edmodo screen. You can edit your about information. You may wish to write a short bio about yourself. You can add previous schools you have worked at. You can connect with other Edmodo members and allows you to send direct messages. You can browse or join communities and connect with Edmodo members across the world.
Okay, so Edmodo can be incorporated into classrooms for a variety of uses. Current uses include posting assignments, taking quizzes, creating polls for student responses, and providing links for useful information. Edmodo allows students to upload assignments for their teacher to view and grade. So Edmodo is a free social network for teachers, students, and schools. It's just like Facebook, na kung kayang gamitin ni student and teacher ang Facebook, kayang-kaya ding gamitin nila ang Edmodo. So meron siyang newsfeed, messages, notifications, and we recommend creating a set of classes that supports your teaching schedule. There are plenty of ways teachers set up their schedule on Edmodo. It can be by period, subject, or using small groups. So next step is for you to invite your students. Once your teaching schedule is set up, invite your students to join your classes. But important thing to remember, class codes should never be shared in unsecure public places or spaces. Step 3, start a conversation. Okay, you can send a welcome note, you can poll your class, you can share updates, activities, and class resources. How can you send a welcome note? Just post an introductory note to your students. There. You can pin the post after you post it. Okay, pin it to keep it at the top of your class page for your students' first view in their first few days. And if you want, you can encourage them to reply to your post to help them learn how to use Edmodo. Okay, next is you can start a poll to get your students engaged right away. Polls can be used as icebreakers or as informal assessments, like bell ringers or exit tickets for the day's lesson. But keep in mind that polls are anonymous and students won't be able to see the poll results until they submit their own response. Okay. So next is share updates, activities, and class resources. You can try using Edmodo Post in different ways to complement your lesson plan. You can attach a picture of the day's agenda. You can create an assignment as homework. This works for both flipped and traditional classrooms. You can give a quiz as a formative or a summative assessment, and so much more. Okay, and that concludes my presentation. Thank you for listening. and I sincerely appreciate that I had this opportunity to present to you. Thank you all for participating in today's webinar.